Hey, what's up guys? I'm BTC. Blizzard is making some pretty big changes on the PTR. Later today, it's going to be updated with some pretty massive, game-changing nerfs and buffs for a whole bunch of characters. So this dropped pretty unexpectedly, and there are some pretty major changes here. Now, before you ask, no, it's unlikely that the new hero, Erisa, is going to be put on the live servers today. That probably won't happen until at least next week, and if you're playing Overwatch on console, it's probably going to be a week and a half or 2 weeks. Alright, so on to the changes. We're going to start out with Ana, who got a pretty massive nerf. Biotic Rifle, damage decreased from 80 to 60, Biotic Grenade, impact damage reduced from 60 to 30, and impact healing reduced from 100 to 50. So the damage reduction from the rifle is definitely significant, but the really hard-hitting nerf is the one on the Biotic Grenade. Cutting both the damage and the healing in half is huge. Ana is still going to be the only hero with burst healing, and the side effects from the Biotic Grenade being able to prevent heal and also boost heal is still incredibly powerful. But these changes are definitely going to make people think twice about making Ana an auto pick. Right now, I think she has somewhere around an 85% pick rate in tournaments. While Ana is still very strong, the buffs to both Zenyatta and Mercy might actually lead to them getting picked over Ana in some of the higher skill games and tournaments. The next hero is Junkrat. He got a small buff and no longer hurts himself from his own explosions. Previously, it was only the remote mine that wouldn't cause damage to Junkrat, but now it looks like all of his explosive attacks will not damage him. One of the problems with Junkrat is that oftentimes his grenades would do just as much damage to himself as it would to his enemies. If you were trapped in a small area, if they were right up next to you, or maybe if the grenade just took a bad bounce and it would come back and explode underneath you. Well, now none of that can happen. Now as Junkrat, you can be right next to someone or point blank staring right into a barrier shield and just unload the grenades right into it and it will not do any damage to you. Now, even though it didn't say it in the patch notes, I'm guessing that the ultimate tire is also included in this explosion. I remember before you would use your ultimate and someone would be standing there right next to you, and then you quickly trigger your ultimate to make it detonate and kill the enemy, but then you end up killing yourself as well. With this change, now when the tire explodes, it's only going to kill that enemy and you'll be fine. Now I want to emphasize that this is a very slight buff. And while it's certainly nice for a Junkrat, it's not really going to fix any of the main problems that Junkrat has. And I anticipate that he's still going to have a 0% pick rate in tournament. Next up is the brand new tank hero, Erisa. She hasn't even hit the live servers yet, but she's already got her first nerfs. The fusion driver. Magazine size lowered from 200 to 150. Supercharger cost increased by 15%. One of the things that I said while I was playing this character on the PTR was it felt like she had way too much ammo. So I think the magazine size change is a good one. The cost increase on the ultimate seems a little out of place though. I don't think there was ever a situation where Erisa felt like she was getting her ultimate too quickly. So I don't understand why they're doing that. Now obviously this character is brand new, so it hasn't seen any playtime in tournaments. Even with these changes, Erisa is still a very powerful character, and I'm guessing her pick rate in tournaments is going to be pretty high. Too bad we can't say the same about the next character, which is Sombra, who sees almost no tournament play whatsoever. I believe it's still under 5% for the pick rate. In this patch, she got some minor buffs. Stealth, sound effects, and voice distance for entering and exiting stealth reduced to 15 meters. Translocator, cooldown reduced from 6 seconds to 4 seconds. The changes to the sound for entering and exiting stealth aren't really that good. 15 meters is still pretty far to be able to hear her, so I don't think that's gonna change too much. The other thing is Translocator cooldown reduced from 6 seconds to 4 seconds. And that's definitely a nice buff, that will help her more quickly engage and disengage from fights, but I don't think either of these is really going to change the character in any meaningful way. Sombra might see some increased playtime in order to combat Bastion and Erisa, but I really don't think it's going to be all that significant. The next hero is Winston, and although this may not seem like it, the changes they made to him are actually a pretty massive buff to the character. Of the 3 tank characters that have a barrier, Winston has the worst. The health on his barrier projector is only 600, only lasts for 5 seconds, and it has a cooldown of 13 seconds. That means that it was really easy to destroy and had very little uptime. But the biggest problem with this, though, was that the cooldown wouldn't start until the barrier was gone. So that meant the effective cooldown was actually about 18 seconds. However, they just made a pretty big change. Now, the cooldown starts when the barrier is placed instead of when it's destroyed or when it times out. So now Winston is going to have a lot more uptime on his barrier shield. I still think they should probably bump up the health on the shield to maybe about 800, but this is a really good change. Now, something that they didn't add, but I think they really should, is allow the Winston player to actually see the health of the barrier that he's dropped. Reinhardt can see the amount of health that his shield has, and same thing with Erisa. So why can't Winston? Maybe if they just added that in the game, it could be like one of those option toggle things, specific for characters. Like, do you want to see the health bars of allies or that sort of thing? But it would just be nice for a Winston player to know how much health his barrier actually has. The last character that was changed is Zenyatta, and he got a nice little buff as well. Orb of Destruction, alternate fire recovery time reduced from 1 second to 0.6 seconds. Orb of Discord can now target enemies through barriers. So the first change for the alternate fire isn't really that big of a deal. I mean, it's nice, but I think the big change here is the Orb of Discord. It's certainly not amazing, but it's definitely a nice little buff for Zenyatta to be able to put Discord on somebody who's hiding behind a Reinhardt shield. So as soon as that shield goes down, or Reinhardt moves away, or maybe an over-aggressive DPS player moves a little too far up and pokes in front of the barrier shield, your team can now focus that target down a lot faster because they already have Discord on them. Again, it's not a huge change, but I think it's a nice little buff that makes Zenyatta a little bit better. Also, the nerfs to Ana combined with the buffs to Bastion are probably going to result in a lot more Zenyatta playtime in tournaments. So those are all the patch changes. Let me know what you think. Put your feedback in the comment section down below. Thank you very much for watching. Hit that like button, share with your friends, and subscribe because there's lots more Overwatch on the channel. Remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault.